Chapter 18: The Freedom Struggle of India. You will learn India's struggle for freedom, phases and movements of the freedom struggle, getting independence. Let's begin. Gegan, what are you looking at? I am wondering, why do we have an image of Mahatma Gandhi on this 10-rupee note? This is because he was the father of our nation. He played a great role in leading the people in the freedom struggle of India. As we have studied in the previous chapter, many European powers came to India to earn profits and increase their wealth. But the British wanted to take control over the whole country. They established the East India Company and eventually took over the whole of the nation. For almost 200 years, the British ruled over the land and looted all its wealth. After a long struggle, India got its freedom from the British in the year 1947. But this independence was not gained easily. Many freedom fighters were jailed or killed during the struggle. However, India's freedom was not gained just by the power of armed forces. In fact, India's freedom struggle was a peaceful rebellion against the British rules and rulers. It was Mahatma Gandhi who showed the path of non-violence or ahimsa to all the Indians. This was a unique way of struggle. The Indians protested against the ruling colonial powers and succeeded. They showed their discontentment to the British and demanded the British government to step back and give them their own rights. This method proved that bloodshed is not always the answer. The Indians who took the path of non-violence were ridiculed by the British as well as by other fellow Indians at first. They questioned how a war could be won against the powerful British power in such a manner. Mahatma Gandhi, also known as the father of the nation, replied to this by saying, "First they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then you win." The Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress was an organization that was formed in the year 1885 by a retired British bureaucrat, A.O. Hume. The main aim of forming this organization at that time was to provide the educated Indians a platform to have a civil and political dialogue with the British government. The first session of the Indian National Congress was held in Bombay, present-day Mumbai. It was attended by 72 delegates. In the beginning, the members of the Congress were moderates who believed in requesting the government for reforms. But the British mostly ignored them and the demands made by them. Later, another group of radicals developed in the Congress. They believed in fighting for their demands with the British. This group was led by a trio, Lal, Bal, Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. They protested against the British by organizing strikes and boycotts against the government. The Champaran Campaign. The Champaran Campaign was Gandhiji's first civil disobedience movement in India. The British government had enforced Tinkatiya system, which compelled the Indian farmers to plant indigo on 1/3 part of their land. This resulted in less production of food grains. Gandhiji protested against this system by practicing satyagraha and keeping fasts. It had such a forceful impact upon the government that they were compelled to take back the system, resulting in Gandhiji's victory. The partition of Bengal. The wave of fighting for India's freedom was growing strongly, and hence the British grew concerned about this matter. The British were afraid that they will not be able to handle the united challenge of the Indians. The Viceroy of India at that time was Lord Curzon. He used the policy of divide and rule. The British broke the national unity of the Indians and divided them on the basis of their religions. The partition of Bengal took place in the year 1905. Bengal was chosen to be separated as it was the hub of business, industries and education in India. The British put the mask of administrative convenience over this partition. However, the main aim was to divide the Hindu and Muslim population. It was also done to divert the attention of the people from the feeling of nationalism and to suppress protests against the British government. Swadeshi and boycott movement. The partition of Bengal angered the Indians. Laul Pal, along with Aurobindo Ghosh and other political leaders, started protesting against the British government. The Indian leaders urged the whole nation to boycott the use of foreign goods and clothes. They were encouraged to use Indian products and cloth. Hence, the Swadeshi and boycott movement started in India. People strongly protested against the British government and stopped using all foreign goods. There were large bonfires at many places in India in which people burned all their foreign goods. The partition of Bengal was publicly condemned. The plan of the British failed badly. Instead of Indians being divided, they came together stronger in protest against the British government. The national song of India, Vande Mataram, was written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee in the year 1882. During this time, it was later translated in 1909. It filled the entire nation with the spirit of nationalism. Due to all the protests, the British government was forced to take back the decision of partition. Therefore, Bengal was reunited again in the year 1911. The government was embarrassed and faced a setback due to this. The capital of India was shifted from Calcutta, present-day Kolkata, to civil disobedience movement. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was elected as the president at the Lahore session of the Congress in December 1929. This was the session of the Congress where complete independence or Purna Swaraj was decided as the goal of the Indian freedom movement. It was also agreed that civil disobedience under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi will be the method to fight back. It was a method of peacefully protesting against the government or authorities. Gandhiji appealed to the nation to keep fighting until the British completely left India. The tricolour flag of India was unfurled on the bank of River Ravi by Nehru on the 31st of December 1929 to symbolize complete independence. This movement officially started on the 12th of March 1930. Gandhiji led a procession along with his followers from his ashram in Ahmedabad to Dandi to break the salt law and raise the flag for the civil disobedience movement. This was known as the Dandi March. This became a nationwide movement in which Indian women too participated actively. It continued till 1934. Gandhiji and several other leaders were arrested. The British government was forced to make changes in the law. Thus, the Government of India Act of 1935 came into existence. But the Indians still demanded complete independence and wanted the British to leave the country. Fact frame. The British government labelled the legendary revolutionaries Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev as India's earliest Marxists. Quit India movement. The Quit India movement was started by Mahatma Gandhi in August 1942. The sole aim of this movement was to push the British out of India. Gandhiji gave the slogan, "Do or die" to all. Most of the prominent leaders were put in jail, but the British still failed to suppress the revolt. They realized that their time in India was over now and they had to leave. Eventually, the government agreed to give all the powers back to the Indians and leave the country. The British government agreed to free India after World War II in 1945. After the end of the World War II in 1945, the British gave India full independence. They had realized that they no longer had any power over the nation. They were no longer able to suppress the freedom movement in India. Hence, on the 15th of August, 1947, India became free. After the enforcement of the Constitution on the 26th of January, 1950, India became a sovereign, secular, democratic republic. Recall, Mahatma Gandhi was among the leaders who fought against the British for the freedom of India. The non-cooperation movement showed protest against the British after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Mahatma Gandhi discontinued the non-cooperation movement after the Chora Chori incident. Dandi March marked the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. India gained its independence on the 15th of August, 1947. India became a sovereign, secular, democratic republic in 1950 after the enforcement of the Constitution.